What's up, man? What's up? You just walking in or you went outside? Yeah, walking in.
And as the expenses were going up, go ahead, big dog.
What are you gonna end up getting? Oh, I'm just keeping talking. Just leaving papers out.
¿Qué tipo de hombre aquí, güey? No mames.
You did the picture?
Always said men are so much worse than women.
What kind of hating that shit was that? No apology, no nothing.
Puede ver que estoy haciendo. He took Biggie's funeral expenses out of the benefit. Right.
He told me the next day that Puff had drugged him and had sex with him against his will. And, you know, me and him go back to when we were 3 years old. So, you know, him coming to me, he felt like I was the person he could trust the most, you know. And he was like, fuck the album, fuck all of that. We quitting Bad Boy, it's whatever, you know. And I told him, you know, yeah, we've been at Bad Boy for like, I don't know, 6 months at the time, but Puff wouldn't do no shit like that. Why is he lying? You know, it was bothering me that somebody I've known my whole life would lie on somebody I've known for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Why would he do that? He discovered Biggie.
Meanwhile, people keep dying and Puff keeps dancing, and he's the reason why they died.
And one time we were on tour, Cassie ran to my room, was like, she leaving Puff, he keeps beating on her, she's hiding out from him. You know what I mean? And, you know, I don't stand for men abusing women, so I went to Puff's room and I was like, Puff, Cassie is in my room, 731, saying you hit her. I need you to go down there and make it right. You need to go apologize to her or whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't see Cassie for like a month after that, but they were still together. I'm guessing, you know, I was just trying to do the right thing. I didn't help him abuse her at all.
Meanwhile, Puff keeps beating up every woman that he dates, and people know it, and they keep watching it, but nobody is an accessory because Puff is a monster all by himself.
After the album release party, I woke up and Puff was in my bed. And I thought about what, you know, my best friend since my childhood had said, and I knew it had happened to me, you know, and I don't care how much money you paying me, how much stardom is promised to me, man. I'm just not going for nothing like that. So, you know, I did like 3 more albums after that, you know, and kept touring and partying with Puff. But after that, I was like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying?
Meanwhile, everyone is being by Puffy. The men, the women, the puppies. It's crazy.
After my 5th album didn't do well, Puff dropped me from Bad Boy. And I didn't have nowhere to go, you know what I mean? I didn't have no money, I didn't have no family, you know, because I was manipulated into turning my back on everybody that I knew, you know what I'm saying? So there was only one thing I could really do, you know, after Cassie got her 30 million.
All right, so as y'all may or may not know, The Reckoning, the documentary about Diddy, has been taking the internet by storm. It's actually very informative for people like me. All I ever knew when I was a kid was Puff Daddy, Diddy. He was just famous as hell. He was the head of Bad Boy. He had Sean John. He was like Jay-Z, basically. That's all I ever knew. The first episode really got us a deep dive into his history, how he grew up, and his first terrible crime. Allegedly in 1991, he assaulted that woman. But the worst thing was, she didn't even know she was drugged and assaulted. She found out because people were telling her that this man Diddy, Puffy, is showing this video he made of you at parties he throws. Can you imagine being a woman finding out that you was SA telling you in the streets, hey man, I seen a video of you. I seen a video of you at this party. Man, and then bragging about it. Of course he denies it to this day. So moving on to episode 2, he had just got Bad Boy. Mind you, when he started Bad Boy, he was such a monster that he didn't own any of it. He put 75% in his mama's name and 25% in his childhood friend's name, so nobody could come after him for damages for the 9 people that were killed, that were trampled to death in the event that he threw a few years ago. One thing about Evil Genius, you gotta respect the last word, genius. That's brilliant. As an adult, I've always heard that Diddy did terrible business with his artists. Like they was always broke and he made all the money. Can you imagine? So at this point, Bad Boy has all types of artists. You got Biggie, Craig Mack, Faith Evans, Total, and Diddy is literally the new gateway into music. You know what I'm saying? So then after he's the new gateway into music, he wants his shit back from his homie. So he went to his homie's office with a baseball bat demanding the 25% back because he had some shit to do with it. But before he did that, homie details a time where Diddy buzzed him into his office. And when he got there, Diddy was getting a BJ at the desk. And he didn't want nothing. He just wanted to show him that I can get a BJ at my desk and she's gonna finish while I'm talking to you. I mean, I guess it was a flex. I just don't understand why I don't want my homies to see me get a BJ. Like I'm 100% cool on that. Honestly. Then look, check this out. Craig Mack, here comes some brand new flavor in your ear. He was Grammy nominated and broke. #1 records and broke. Because this is how they broke it down. You're in the studio. Now you have to recoup for being in the studio. Diddy owns the studio. If he's recording you, you're paying him in the studio that he owns, that you're paying to be in. If he's in your video, and we know he was in all them videos dancing around like he wanted to be the star, he paid himself to be in the video also out of your budget. So you got a #1 song, but you ain't got no money because Diddy owns everything. Can you imagine performing being a big star and not having no real money like that? It's kind of like having a song with 4 million views and you got blackballed by the Negro community in an era of Sexy Red and NBA Youngboy because your music talks accountability. I kind of know what that shit's like. Fuck you, bunch of bitch ass. Okay, so back to Craig Mack. Craig Mack ex-wife told this story. Now, mind you, being a broke rapper, being a famous rapper and you broke, that'll definitely make your wife leave you. Because she got to put up with all this shit that come with her husband being known by all these women and ain't no money on. There's no way in hell. Of course she left him. But anyway, she told a story about how he was dead broke with the #1 record and he went to Diddy and asked him for some money because he was broke. He pulled out a stack of wad of cash and gave him a single $100 bill. Right. Diddy was trying to make Bad Boy like Death Row. Because at the time, Death Row had a bunch of major artists, but they were also taking good financial care of their artists. That's how they got Dr. Dre away from NWA, if you remember, from Straight Outta Compton. Then it came the whole thing with the violence and all of that stuff. But that's literally how Suge Knight rose into business in the first place, because he learned the business, learned how these rappers were being absolutely screwed by the record labels. So he just like, I'm gonna actually pay my people. Easy money. So Diddy was modeling himself after Death Row, minus the paying the artist well. And it got to a head it was either at the Source Awards or something like that, where Suge Knight got on stage and said, if you tired of not making no money, going #1, if you tired of the head of your record label dancing in all of your videos for no reason, come to Death Row. Took a direct shot at Diddy. And then Diddy played, he did the classy thing. He was like, I'm here for positivity, black excellence, yada, yada, yada. And then 7 or 8 weeks later, when Diddy and Suge Knight were in a club, not together, but they were together, a man gunned down Suge's homie when Suge, Diddy, and Suge's homie were outside. And he was gonna shoot Suge, but Suge literally used Puffy as a human shield. Because think about it, Suge is a big man, and Diddy was a small man. He picked his little ass up and was like, if you gonna shoot me, you gonna shoot him. And for some reason, the manic shooter wasn't trying to shoot, huh? Now, you remember the East Coast, West Coast beef we heard about when we was kids, bro? That's what started it. It wasn't rappers going at each other. That incident is what started the East Coast, West Coast beef. Ain't that a bitch? Before, Tupac was adamant about the fact that he thinks Diddy had him shot because Diddy and a couple other Bad Boy artists were the only ones who knew that he was going to that studio in New York, and they kept calling and blowing up his phone to make sure he was going to be there. And then the gunmen approached Lil C's, Biggie's artist. They didn't rob him. As a matter of fact, they told him to get out the elevator because they was here for Tupac. And they said it was a robbery, but they left behind $80,000 Rolexes. But it was a robbery though. Like a life robbery. Right. Of course Tupac thought Puffy had him set up because Pac and Big had a dope ass relationship that they was forming because, Pac wasn't no hater and he saw how dope Biggie was. So he's like, yo, I'm fucking with dude. And Pac wanted to work with him a lot. He had him on tour and shit. And Puffy was jealous because he was losing control.
What's up, man? You just walking in or you went outside? Yeah, walking in.
It's fine. Yeah, it don't matter. And also, Diddy had a connection with the guy Keefe D, who claimed to have shot Tupac via a dude named Zip, because Zip was a Crip and Keefe D and them was Crips. And Diddy had beef with the LA Bloods because of Suge Knight and them. He was allegedly supposed to give him $1 million for Tupac and Suge, but he only promised him $500,000 because he only took out Pac. But then he never got the money because he said he gave it to Zip and then Zip never gave it to them and then Zip died of cancer and blah, blah, blah. That's how you know Diddy never paid nobody, because everybody who used to work with Diddy just really willing to talk. A dude who used to I forget, he either used to write with Diddy as an artist or he was a producer. He said they was working on a song called Muscle Gang in 1999. And Diddy was literally in the booth talking shit like, yeah, you mess with me, I put $1 million on your head. And he said he was like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Now we know. Allegedly. So then you got the Biggie murder. Puff said that Biggie wanted that trip, but that was a lie. Diddy wanted that trip because he wanted to throw a party out there for his own ego to show that he could do that out there in the midst of this beef. Biggie wanted to go. As a matter of fact, Puffy canceled his flights to London and said he had to stay a little bit longer for this party we was throwing. Biggie didn't want to be out there. All this beef and shit that y'all done started. I'm just a rapper, bro. Like, I'm ready to go home or wherever the fuck I'm ready to go next. So then Diddy left a little bit before Biggie did. Biggie got shot. So then Diddy assumed the role of Biggie's best friend after he got shot. Like, that was his artist. They weren't tight like that. They were cool. But when I was a kid, I would have thought they was best friends. Like, absolute besties. I think this is what made 50 make the documentary, honestly. After Biggie died, he knew it meant a lot to New York. So he said he was going to throw the biggest funeral New York had ever seen. And as the expenses were going up, go ahead, big dog.
I'm just keeping solid. We just being faithful side.
¿Qué tipo de hombre aquí, güey? No mames.
You did the picture?
Yeah, just one of those.
Always said men are so much worse than
You
women.
wanted to come down some or just like
What kind of hating ass shit was that? No apology, no nothing.
Puede ver que estoy haciendo. So yeah, as the expenses were racking up for the funeral, Diddy saw it was getting expensive. And even though he had been screwing people out of all types of money, it was still getting too expensive. you feel me? Everybody had #1 records. They ain't make no money. You made all the money. Whoa, it's my money now. So you know what he did, fam? He took Biggie's funeral expenses out of the Life After Death album that was going to be right. He took the funeral expenses out of the profits for the album for his mama and kids and all of that stuff, bro. That's insane. And then was on stage in all white dancing every step I take. But that song actually fueled the beginning of Puff Daddy the artist. And apparently also after Biggie died, the Godzilla soundtrack he was on. Yeah. The guy that wrote that for him, he said it took him so long to record that. No, because he wrote it for him. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like he did anything illegal with it. But he just said it took him so long to record it because he was trash. Yeah, not right.